We start with Kenya, where a member of parliament has been shot dead on a busy street in the capital. Kenyan opposition lawmaker Charles Were was killed by gunmen on a motorbike. The attack that took place at a busy roundabout in Nairobi is an area often manned by traffic police and covered by security cameras. Yet, the identities of both the shooter and the motorbike rider remain unknown, and an investigation into the matter is underway. President William Ruto has ordered police to conduct a thorough investigation into the attack, saying those responsible must be held to account. Now, not just President Ruto, but even fellow lawmakers have expressed shock and outrage, calling for swift justice.
I passed on Ong'ondo around 7 in the night at Parliament exit as he was addressing 5 MPs, and he was the one whom the MPs were listening to. I was saddened to have read the message that Ong'ondo Mheshimiwa of Kasipul is no more. Pole to the family, and may his soul rest in peace.
How I pray that this matter is going to be conclusively brought to book and we will know who murdered Honorable Charles Ong'ondo Were.
Charles Were represented the Kasipul constituency in Western Kenya. He was a member of the opposition Orange Democratic Movement led by veteran politician Raila Odinga. And although Odinga contested the 2022 election results, which he lost to President Ruto, the two recently formed a political alliance. In fact, Ruto even formed a broad-based government in the wake of recent anti-government protests. Police say the nature of this crime appears to be both targeted and predetermined. According to local media, Were had reported receiving death threats 2 months ago. He claimed non-residents of his constituency had been disrupting his public events. Meanwhile, just a day before the shooting, he also reportedly stated that his vehicle was blocked after leaving a funeral, and that he believed could have been attacked had it not been for his security detail. Family members have also said he repeatedly warned that his life was in danger. While many have described Charles Were as a sincere politician, his past controversies have also been highlighted in the wake of his killing. For instance, a case from 2010 involving the disappearance of a woman who visited his home in search of work. Her mother claimed her daughter disappeared after visiting Were's house and was never seen again. The killing comes amid growing political dissent in Kenya. Last year's protests against tax hikes evolved into a broader movement against the Ruto government. Multiple protesters were killed, bringing the conduct of security forces under intense scrutiny. And since then, there has been a troubling rise in enforced disappearance, often targeting government critics and protesters. Will this latest incident deepen political tensions in Kenya? To discuss further, we have with us Luke Anami, who is an international affairs expert from Nairobi, Kenya. Luke, welcome to Firstpost.
Yes, thank you so much for your welcome, Gavin.
Luke, what does the method and timing of MP Charles Were's assassination suggest about the level of planning and possible motives behind the attack?
Yes, the level of planning, first of all, it suggests that this was a well-planned and meticulously carried out a killing, if you can call it an assassination. And it really was well-planned in terms of execution. And you could see that clearly this was a marked man, just as you have well indicated that he was a marked man. Kasipul is one of the constituencies in Western Kenya that is known for a lot of violence during election, and a lot of enmity within the constituency has actually spiraled over to national level. And so one would term this a local matter that was actually boiling, but the government was not paying close attention to it. The timing is also very important. Just recently, the BBC had released a documentary which indicated that how Kenyans were killed at Parliament on 25th of June during the riots against the Finance Act of 2023. And the timing is very key in terms that it actually comes at the time when Kenyans are debating how the killings have been being carried out in the past. Kenyans losing a lot of losing their lives to the police and security people. But this one comes into the new twist. This is almost like a personal attack on an MP who actually had lived a very peaceful life in the village, but because of his political opponents and the kind of violence that is carried out during elections, this has actually cost him his life.
Right. Rook, now given that Mr. Were had repeatedly reported threats to his life, does his assassination point to a failure in the state's duty to protect elected officials?
Yes, it does to some level that actually the government has not been paying attention to its own citizens in terms of security. Here is an MP who had actually raised complaints and even pointed out, suggesting possible killers. But the government did not carry out any investigations, neither did it go and arrest those that he had mentioned. What the government did was it just gave him a bodyguard who was armed. Unfortunately, the bodyguard who was with him during the attack yesterday night could not respond on time. Also, the place where he was actually killed has security cameras, so the policeman should be able to find it very easy to arrest and know the culprits. But given the Kenyan political scene at the moment, one has very little faith in the security apparatus to carry out a thorough investigation and nail the person responsible for this killing. Hopefully, this will actually be able to ignite some fire under the belly of the government that it needs to get to the bottom of this matter, given that if Kenyans are being reminded about how they were killed last year, and here is a killing of a member of parliament, then the question is, who is safe?
Right. And finally, Luke, what does Were's assassination reveal about political violence in Kenya? Does his party's recent alliance with President Ruto have anything to do with it?
First, I will answer the last bit. This has nothing to do with the relationship between Ruto and ODM, given that Kasipul is in ODM and it's in Western Kenya, but it's a constituency that is known to have a lot of violence during elections. Every cycle of elections, there's a lot of violence, and the MP was one of those who was known to actually unleash violence on his opponents. And perhaps maybe this was just maybe a revenge mission, perhaps from those disgruntled in the manner in which he has handled them. On the other issue is that yes, it puts pressure to President William Ruto's government to actually come and say, okay, this is a member of parliament who belongs to a party that has actually come to support us. So what should we do? It will actually is putting a lot of pressure on President Ruto to come out clean, get his security apparatus to actually come and be able to investigate thoroughly, find out the culprits, find out the reason behind why this killing took place in a clear place, in a place where actually can easily be identified. Nairobi is manned by very good cameras all over the. So I've had the privilege to be in the police offices and been able to see clearly the cameras and how they work. So that should actually be a very easy case for the government. But then the question and the test is: will the government crack it this time round? Will the President William want to place his partner Raila Odinga that he can actually get to the bottom of this matter and dispose it off? So all the eyes are on the president and his security apparatus and how this will actually be used to ensure that this kind of killings do not occur. Violence is part of Kenya's politics right from more than a decade, the 2 decades now. And in most cases, anytime there's an election, there is a lot of violence unleashed on opponents, and as well as the government itself unleashing violence on its own people. And in this case of Kasipul, the government's did not like the opposition. So you can see that when there is violence in Kasipul, the government paid less attention because it didn't see it's a region which is not it doesn't get votes from, and it didn't see the need to actually send security to do all those investigations and reduce the violence. And you can see now this is a symptom of recurring of violence in election. Yeah, we just have 1 year to the election, and this can be a point of a very, very, very tense moment for Kenyan politicians as well as the rest of the public.
That was Luke Anami, who is an international affairs expert from Nairobi, Kenya. Luke, thank you so much for sharing your insights with Firstpost.
Thank you so much, Colleen.